be taken seriously, we've still got to have an English manager. I mean, I've seen that Pochettino and Tuchel being mentioned. They're relatively young. When you look at maybe experience, are they experienced to go in and manage a national team? And just, they've both been out. Tuchel hasn't been out of the game maybe as long as Pochettino, but I still think that there must be more wanting a day-to-day job, coaching, managing, rather than managing a national team where, and especially England as well, and what people expect, and there'll be more pressure on them because they're not English. So I think that's the road we should go down, and maybe not start throwing Southgate under a bus before they've actually got someone they can actually say, where a lot of the people are going to say, yeah, that might work. They keep throwing up Eddie Howe. I think we have to say Eddie Howe is maybe enjoying himself a bit at Newcastle. Look at the age he's at. Does he want to lower himself into maybe going into international management? So he's out of the equation. Graham Potter just walked to a job at Chelsea. He's not going to walk away from that to become a national team manager. So who else is out there to do the job? Southgate's got could have another 2 years, go to the Euros again. The Euros that he nearly won. He'll go into it with more experience. He'll be able to maybe know his team better now than what it was before the World Cup. And he can take quite a few of those players with him and maybe add to it a little bit more as well. So he's an honourable person. He's got 2 years left in a contract. It certainly wouldn't surprise me if he fulfilled his contract. If you drop to the level of having a foreign manager, you're going a little bit third world, in my opinion, if you go and do that. I can see where they're going sometimes, but he's going to have those moments because he's of an age now where it comes to goalkeepers where things do change, and mentally and physically. That's the same with outfield players as well. But the goalkeeper is always the ones who get it more because that one mistake shows up more than a mistake that the outfield players make. There might be someone around the corner to bail you out. So Lloris is seen as a weak link, but in certain ways, I think he's been a strength to them with their experience. That back four he played against, that wasn't a great back four he played in front of. It was the right back is a centre half. If we talk about pace, we can talk about him being as fast as Mbappe, but he hasn't got that quickness off the mark. He hasn't got the brains of Mbappe with the ball at his feet. He can't beat a man like Mbappe. Mbappe does it on a regular basis. Mbappe reads the game. He reads where he should be, and he asks questions of the fullback. He pulls them around. Marcus Rashford hasn't got that. Marcus Rashford, again, is what Ten Hag has said. He's got pace in a straight line. Mbappe doesn't. Rashford can't stop and go as Mbappe does. No one can do that. I was fortunate enough, again, to see him live and actually witness how he beats people. Kyle Walker, people say he stopped him, but Kyle Walker never made a tackle on him. He never took the ball off his feet once throughout that game. And he was a constant threat. So he'd done his bit. He didn't just stand there. He didn't dribble into blind alleys and give the ball away and then just put his arms up in the air and walk back. I think maybe in a certain way, Ten Hag is playing a confidence game to give him a lift and hope that he can get more out of him because there hasn't been enough in him consistently over the last 2 or 3 seasons. You have to start as you finish. You can't just suddenly look at that situation and say, "Oh, Harry Maguire's got to come in." I think Harry Maguire's publicity-wise, there's a lot of people who've gone pro him, but I think if you look at him over the games, nothing's really changed in the way he is. He's a defender that has to play deep. He can't play high because his decision-making goes to pot. So it has to be Martinez. Martinez got into the Argentina team too late. He should have been in that side earlier before that, because before, when you've got Otamendi in your defence, you need as much good defenders around him because he's just not a defender. He's just, So I still believe we'll go with Varane. They're his pairing. They're the pairing that made a difference from when he's arrived, and they're the ones who made a difference until such time that Varane got injured. So I think Harry Maguire, in my opinion, still should have to, you know, still has to go back to basics and understand, get back to trying to be a good Premier League player. That's what he should be looking at. But England's gone to bed now. It doesn't matter what anybody says, you've done this, and it's completely different football to what you play at club level. So he's got a bit of work. He's got a bit of work to do to get back in the team. Varane will start. Well, saying that, we don't know because of the fact of they get to the final. The manager might think the 18th of September to your first Premier League game, Boxing Day, might be too soon, but I don't see how because of during that time, no difference in the amount of games he's played for his country is different to what he would have played at the club. I don't think you can judge him. I mean, he's done great. He's come in, he's scored 3 goals, and there's been over the years and years and years, there's been players who have just had an unbelievable. Scalacci, he gets a move to Juve, doesn't work out. So I think it's very difficult to go and make that decision, not unless he's been watching him prior to what he was doing at Benfica, and he was scoring goals at Benfica. He hasn't just come into World Cup someone just coming in to fill a space. He's come in because he deserves to come in because of the goals he scored for his club. So if Ten Hag has been looking at him prior to that and he's seen him in the World Cup, then I would believe that, yes, there might be a bit of interest. He's a very, very experienced player. You can just see he plays in that middle. He finds space. He can pass. Very rarely gets caught in possession. Why wouldn't you? He's so experienced and where he's played and what he's achieved. He's a tough cookie because he's played for Simeone. So and Simeone, I think they had maybe a little bit of a fallout, or maybe they might have when he went to Barcelona. But you can see that Simeone respects him, and he knows as a footballer that he's a great footballer. But he knows as well that he can dig in as well. So he wouldn't be just a player who would just come along and you have to kind of entertain him by just giving him a ball. And if you don't give him the ball, he's not going to get the ball back for you. He works hard as well. So I think it'd be a good addition to any top side in the Premier League. I would stick with David De Gea at this moment in time. I think he made too many mistakes, unnecessary ones as well. In the fact, when he tried too much with his feet, and he kept getting caught out. Too many times I wasn't really, really sure about him. I think the best goalkeeper I've seen would be Costa. He played really, really well. Looks a decent goalkeeper, but things change very quickly with goalkeepers. I think people spend more time looking at goalkeepers than maybe they do outfield players. I really don't see why not, because you watched him and he hardly made a mistake. He was assured on the ball. He was playing with that mask on as well, and that must have been a hindrance. But it never seemed to bother him. And he's got a wonderful left foot as well. Defensively, he just done his job. When he with the ball, he was decent, and it wouldn't surprise me if he come to the UK. He played really, really well in that back four. To be honest, the whole of look at the Croatian team. It seemed like there was, it seemed like they're all brothers in arms. To be perfectly honest, in the way they play. But yeah, he played really well as centre half. Never got a lot of mentions, but then you look at it and the team is around Modric, but Modric is the team player. But they play for each other. They're not individuals. You can just see that. I think he's really enjoying himself at Palace at the moment with playing for what's blooming now, Vieira. Yeah, I think Patrick Vieira going there has made a difference to Zaha. I can just see by the way he's playing. You look at his temperament. You look at the fact of yes, he's still got that fire in his belly where he does lose it, but he's not going off all the time and throwing his arms at his teammates, throwing his arms at his manager, as he used to do a lot with Roy Hodgson. He hasn't done that with Vieira. And I think it made just for the fact he respects him that much. And I'd be very surprised if he left Palace. You look where he is now, and you think, so what club is going to go and take him on now with what they've got already? I can't see him getting that moved to maybe when people could talk about top clubs. I don't see that happening. I can just see him, doing his time at Crystal Palace, and just being remembered as a Palace great, because he has proved himself a hell of a lot. I mean, he's proved himself as what the qualities he's got. Didn't materialise at United. Maybe a lot of it was down to him. He wasn't comfortable in that environment. He loves being, where he is comfortable at Palace in Croydon, where he feels at home. I think he's done great. I mean, from where he come from in France as well, Leicester to go and get him was, someone like him, and then to bring him on to where he is, and he wins a Premier League title with Leicester. I suppose he never thought that was going to happen again, and then he gets a move to Chelsea, and he goes and wins more silverware and even a Champions League as well. He's an integral part of that French side, and he was missed. He would have made, he would have definitely have added something more to that French side if he'd been in that midfield. It would have given it that extra little oomph. For him to talk about him with Real Madrid at this moment, I don't know if he's got that one move left in him now, to be perfectly honest, with the younger players now. I mean, you just think to yourself, no, I really don't see that one happen in Real Madrid. I'm no expert on it, but I'm just trying to see how just maybe that time is just wrong for him at his time in his career. When you're saying that to me, it doesn't surprise me that he's gone and done something like that again. Maybe that player didn't bow to him when he arrived, and he took that personally, Jose Mourinho. So that's mostly why that player's been treated like a leper. If he's got a problem with that player, talk to him personally. Tell him that it might be better. He can't give him the game time. He doesn't want to give him the game time. Tell him the truth that he doesn't fancy him as a player for his team, his club, and the player move on. But to publicly talk about him like that isn't good. Again, he's doing maybe what he's done previous, but it all come out at Manchester United, the way he was with certain individuals, the way he wanted to talk to them publicly. It's about him making a name, him adding more to himself about him, rather than just saying that he isn't good enough, and try and embarrass him as well. And that's what he's done. And if any players are there at that football club, he's done himself no favours then, because they'll be concerned about their position at the football club. The manager's going to publicly talk about them like that.